On today's episode of Locked On Suns, Kevin Durant said after a disastrous Friday night loss to the Shayless Thunder, hopefully the Suns have a chance to make the postseason. With that in mind, what on earth are we even expecting from this team down the stretch? I'll give you my 2 cents coming up next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 7 seasons, a writer at Dime Magazine, the host of the Jase Basketball Show, wherever you get your podcasts, and I also create written and video content all about the Suns for the Locked On Suns Insider community, which you can sign up for at the link in the show description below. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen to start off your Monday, to start off your April. Thank you for being here. Wherever you're finding the show, we are free and available everywhere, including YouTube. So if you're first time finding us here today, or you just have not done so already, go ahead and hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Get a new episode in your feed every single Monday through Friday. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns all year long right here with this podcast. There's going to be an announcement coming up later this week on the show. Very excited for that. More content to come on the Locked On Suns Insiders, which you can sign up for at the link in the show description. But I know a lot of people are down right now, okay? I know that this show comes to you at a weird moment. I thought I was going to do a bonus episode from what I hoped would be a very competitive potential win for the Suns on Friday afternoon. There is another one of those on Monday afternoon against the Pelicans. We don't know what's coming. People are starting to bail. I posted a graphic from the Jase Basketball Show that I do with the Suns placement as I predict it in the Western Conference. I had them 9th. I get you. I feel you. I understand. Kevin Durant seems to understand by giving the quote of, hopefully we have a chance to do something in the postseason. I believe Bradley Beal said it's less than ideal, or whatever his exact words were related to this chase that the Suns somehow find themselves in. So rather than just adding to the pain or saying the same things we've been all tearing our hair out about, last Monday, I kind of set the stage by saying what I thought needed to happen was that Devin Booker needed to step up in a whole variety of ways, and I listed them all out, and I did so. That might have been 2 Mondays ago, actually. In this case, what I'm going to do is say, what are the expectations for the rest of the season? What exactly are we hoping for? What do we want to see from this team? What do I want to see from this team? And I think to answer that question, you have to rewind all the way back to the beginning of the year, right? You have to sort of take yourself out of losing to the Spurs without Vic, or losing to the Thunder without Shea, or the Bucks without Giannis. Somehow 3 of those very similar losses, all in the course of a few weeks, but really on back-to-back-to-back weekends. That is what we've had in March. But go back to October, right? What did you think this team would be? Not theoretically, what would you think a team with Booker and Beal and Durant could be? No, that's not really realistic. That can't be the benchmark, right? Because it was never that easy or that straightforward from the beginning. The whole entire roster was new. The big 3 did have fit questions. A DeAndre Ayton trade was I don't want to say a bomb dropped, because I think people were fairly optimistic about it, but a big change at the last second. Even before Beal's injury, the back thing heading into preseason game number 3 in Palm Springs. Forget that. I don't even include that. Let's say before even the first preseason game. What did we think? And that feels like what you would have to measure this on. So I'll tell you what I thought. I never bought this team has so much talent, they're just going to blitz their way to 55, 60 wins. I have a healthy dose of respect for the Denver Nuggets and felt extremely confident that they were going to be the favorites through most of the season, provided that they stayed healthy again, which they have. I felt like the Celtics, not to get all the way to the East already, but I thought the Celtics were the most talented roster in the NBA. I felt like, even a team like the Warriors, I'll say I was wrong about, but I thought they had as good a chance as anybody to finish near the top of the West. I expected breakout seasons from Ant and, some of these Thunder players and everything else, okay? So I don't remember. I think I picked the Suns to get the 3 seed. I can't remember exactly what I had as far as the precise win total. I can look up what their over-under was heading into the season right here, and it was 52.5. I'm pretty positive that I took the under. I think I had them with 50, 51, 52, somewhere in there. So where are they now? Well, let's say they split the final 8 games, which maybe that would be an achievement given the murderer's row of teams that they're facing. But look, we've seen them beat the Pelicans. I think that's a winnable game on Monday night, even though New Orleans has been playing well. Cleveland is kind of scrambling. Sacramento, we've already seen them beat the Wolves. So let's say they win the next 2, New Orleans and Cleveland. Let's say they win in the last 2, and they lose 4 in the middle. All right, okay, sure, let's say that. Or let's say even they win the home game against the Pelicans, lose the road game. Whatever you think. 47 wins would be the end result there if they were to split them. If I picked 50, we're 3 games off of that right now, given that hypothetical. I think so 3 seed, I guess I underestimated how good the top of the West would be, how bad the bottom of the West might be. So 47 wins, even 50 wins wouldn't get you the 3 seed. 50 wins might not even get you the 5 seed. But the win total's not far off. Let's say they finish 7th, which I'm not fully convinced of. Okay, that's 4 slots below. That's even 2 slots below where they were last year. But obviously it all comes down to the playoffs. So I think if you would have asked me preseason, I would have probably told you that anything less than a second round loss was a failure. Given that, the Suns have a long way to go. I think we all would have felt a lot differently if, to be honest with you, even if the health was more of a problem, we would have felt better. As weird as that might sound, it would have probably resulted in a worse record and some things like that. But the fact that we've seen these guys play together and it just hasn't worked, and there have been so many letdowns of games, is definitely worse than just flat out losing those opportunities. They got the opportunities to play together and they failed them in a lot of cases. So that's disappointing. I think if we use that second round benchmark, where that inevitably leads us is this team is underachieved. They have a big uphill battle to even get close to breaking even with preseason expectations from a playoff standpoint. And if they don't, well, I don't think it's crazy to start imagining a world where big changes come. I don't know what those are. But if those are the stakes and those are the expectations they're up against, we've been saying this for a while, that there has to be a switch flip, that there has to be an ounce of pride that kicks in, but considering that it hasn't happened yet and the desperation should be even higher, and those big changes could be the stakes of what's happening here, the fallout, so to speak. I think that really puts into perspective what we're watching down the stretch and how pride and giving a you-know-what more than a win or a loss or seeding is what we're watching for down the stretch of the season. And I'll get into how that might show up and what happens if it doesn't coming up next. First, today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. March is over, but the biggest moments in college basketball tip off the month of April. Be a part of the action on Prize Picks for both men's and women's college basketball and get in on the playoff action, winning up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason coming up in just a couple weeks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as few as 4 correct picks, turning $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 sports app, fantasy sports app. What I love about Prize Picks is that it is not a league, not a head-to-head, not a pool, nothing. It is you versus the Prize Picks player projection. So if you trust what you have going on up there and you feel like you have some insights, well, you can turn $10 into $1,000. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, let's keep it rolling here. So, pride, right? Pride. That's kind of the key word, the buzzword of the rest of the season. I'll just get it out of the way, right? I don't think it would be a surprise at all for James Jones or Frank Vogel to be gone if the team cannot get to that benchmark of around a competitive second round, which would entail, as of where, if you just were to freeze it right now, where things stand, beating the Sacramento Kings at home in a winner-takes-all game, and then beating one of Minnesota or Oklahoma City without home court advantage in the first round, and then likely playing the winner of Denver versus Dallas and going toe-to-toe with those teams, with which I don't have to remind anybody are in the Thunder, the team that has had Phoenix's number all season, and in Denver and Dallas, the two teams that have eliminated them each of the past 2 rounds. So winning a home play-in game against maybe the best offense in the NBA at its peak in Sacramento is only half the battle before you get to some really scary potential matchups. That's the stakes. Jobs being gone. That's the path. And so again, it is about pride. I also don't think it would be a surprise for conversations in the media and among fans about trading one of the big 3 on this team will happen, are already happening, and will only intensify if those expectations are not met. That's just a fact. I'm going to save my thoughts about whether and if and how that all could happen once we've seen a lot more play out. I know we're more than 70 games in. We have a lot of sample size here. I'm not overlooking that, but at the end of the day, what happens the next few weeks is going to matter a lot more than what has already happened, even though what's already happened has been a disappointment. But trading one of these 3 players, multiple of these 3 players, will be a conversation. Now, let's get this out of the way too when we're talking about a switch flipping or anything like that. Pride. There is a possibility, as we've seen with great talented teams that have underachieved and underperformed, there is a potential that part of what is standing in the way here is, well, maybe parts of this team at the coaching level, the front office level, the ownership level, or the player level, maybe some component of that hierarchy might not be all that upset if other components of that hierarchy were to be gone. You know, I don't have to remind you about 36 Unbothered, which was posted by Devin Booker amidst the entire coaching staff and most of the roster being on its way out, right? We don't know specifically what Book was referring to. Maybe it was just, hey, we felt good about how we played Denver and we'll be back. Maybe it had nothing to do with Monty Williams or Chris Paul or anybody. I don't know. But that's a possibility. So maybe the stakes being, well, so-and-so might lose their job, so-and-so might be traded, such and such role player might be on his way out. That might not bother certain other people involved here. I don't know. I have no way of knowing. But those are the stakes, and that is what is on the line. And so, but at the end of the day, the significance of, imagine you lose the play-in, right? Imagine you fall to 9, like I said, and it just becomes too much. Maybe you beat the Warriors or the Rockets in the 9-10 at home, but you have to go on the road to the Lakers. And, we know what LeBron and AD can do in an environment like that. LeBron has won 2 play-in games in his career already, right? So if it's that, and it's a real falling short of expectations, then I don't really think anybody can be, quote unquote, unbothered. I don't think anybody can feel secure in their situation. Maybe Durant and Booker, you would expect, are safe, so to speak, so long as they want to be here still. But their role might be up for negotiation. Their, let's say, input may not be as valued. Their perspective may not be listened to quite as much, and that can get uncomfortable. Maybe there's a new coach and they don't get a say in who that is. Maybe there's, a trade that happens for anybody on this roster 3 through 8 that they don't get to chime in on. And that's not great, right? Maybe there is somebody brought in who is more of a point guard, and all the people who have been saying that all season get their way. And suddenly Booker and Durant, possession to possession next season, don't get as much control over how things play out over the course of the game. I think all of those situations would be undesirable to those two guys as well, even if you're probably not going to say, wow, we lost in the play-in, let's burn it all down. That's unlikely. So nothing is untouchable here in terms of changes if things do not pick up, turn around, and reach at least a respectable benchmark in the next few weeks, in this month we are now in. So when I say pride, it is saving yourself from embarrassment. It is saving yourself from facing ultimatums and facing change against your choosing, facing discomfort. And the reality is, protecting yourself from that hit to your ego, those undesirable changes, that embarrassment, I think, we can talk about matchups all day, but as out as I am on this team as a championship contender that can turn it around and be 4 consecutive playoff rounds good, I'm not a believer there. I certainly believe that if they give effort on defense consistently, cut down the mental mistakes, stop overlooking their opponents, play deliberate and smart offensive basketball, and show the spirit that they need to, they can upset somebody in the first round. They can easily win these play-in games against even the Lakers. Even, let's say, the Mavs fall. They could beat any of these teams in a play-in game. They can beat Minnesota, Oklahoma City in a first-round matchup. And I think they know that. So if you want to avoid the embarrassment and the change that will come with not reaching those, it's on these guys to dig deep and give a you-know-what. Because at the end of the day, the fact that we all know it's still possible, despite the embarrassment that we've already seen this team suffer through, is exactly what will be motivating Matt Ishbia when push comes to shove to decide what changes might be necessary after the fact, right? Which is, again, what I meant when I said the injuries would have been more of a protection for a lot of this. But the fact that we've seen it, and if it does fall short, well, that's sort of all you need to know. And I would not blame Matt Ishbia at that point for going to fairly extreme lengths to try to reset this whole thing again. That is what these guys are playing for. That is what these guys can use as motivation. And that's what we're all watching for. Last up, there's an idea out there that the Suns can still, quote-unquote, beat anyone. I said it a couple times there. Is it still true? First, today's show brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. They offer amazing viewing experiences that you can plug into your existing TV, get live, free TV, as well as millions of movies and TV episodes. So whether it's opening weekend for baseball, the college basketball tourneys, or anything going on in the sports world, you're going to want to have that Fire TV turned on. Fire TV recently also created channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, including Locked On, most of the big pro leagues, and the college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to the date in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on your Fire TV and Alexa devices. Trust me, it's worth it. Learn more at amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Closing out the show, can the Suns still beat anybody? Here's the deal. I still don't feel good about the Thunder or the Clippers matchups. I don't feel good about the Nuggets matchup in the first round, to be honest with you. I know they beat... Let me backtrack on that. Denver probably doesn't belong in the same category as the Thunder or the Clippers. That would just be sort of ignoring reality a little bit. I also talked last week about how, hey, the reason the Suns have beaten the Nuggets a couple times here and had some impressive performances against them, well, it's because they were built to play them, built to beat them. And maybe we'll look back at that as a little bit of a mistake to say, hey, the only team we're worried about is the defending champion. Maybe they should have been a little more worried about these other types of teams. But can't put the Nuggets in there. So when I say, hey, a competitive second round is maybe my benchmark, well, what happens if you get Oklahoma City in the first round? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. That is the weird part about this parity moment that we are in, right? Where you are, like, let's use Vogel's last situation, right? The Lakers end up in 2021 playing the Suns in the first round. They lose in 6. Anthony Davis goes down. Vogel keeps his job. Yes, they end up making some questionable trades, including for Russell Westbrook, but they didn't look at that as we need to tear this whole thing down, right? They were coming off of a championship and everything else. That's one example. The Lakers were favored in that series, if you remember, against the Suns. Chris Paul got hurt too, just like Anthony Davis did. And the Suns were first-timers in that situation. But the fact that the Lakers lost to them did not create a wholesale, a fire sale. Vogel keeps his job, the stars stay in place, the GM stays in place, et cetera, et cetera. The Suns would be facing this down a little bit as well. What happens if you take the Thunder to 6 or 7 games in the first round, the Thunder end up making the conference finals, and a team you matched up poorly with just had your number, Does that mean you make big changes? Does that mean the coach and the GM and the, other supporting cast is all put out to dry? I don't know. But I will say, I don't think the Suns can beat the Thunder or the Clippers, no matter what round they play them in, no matter who has home court advantage. I really don't care. I don't think that would go well. I know the Clippers have been playing poorly lately. I don't care. Those games were horrible, ugly. So we will see that matchup 2 more times in a row, back-to-back, travel back-to-back, Tuesday, Wednesday, April 9th and 10th. That'll give us some more. So I guess, don't buy any stock in that immediately, but that's how I feel right now. And it would really complicate how you would have to evaluate this season. In the play-in, the Suns can beat anybody. I said that in the last segment. I don't care if it's Dallas and Luka. I don't care if it's Sacramento, who has given the Suns a run this year. I don't care if it's LeBron and Anthony Davis. I don't care if it's Steph Curry. The Suns can beat anybody in a winner-takes-all game. At home, on the road, I don't care. They can. We all know that. Luckily, the Thunder and the Clippers aren't going to be in the play-in, but I feel decently about the Suns in every single one of those matchups because, again, we know in a one-game environment, they can severely overperform or underperform. So, as badly as I may feel about things, if it gets to 2 weeks from now, Sunday, the final day of the season, 2 weeks from today, and I'm recapping Suns, who do they play? The Minnesota Timberwolves at 12:30 local time on the road. And we now know, okay, the Suns are playing this team in the play-in. I will probably say then, no matter who it is, the Suns can win this game, and I'll go through all the keys and I will tell you how. No matter who it is. However, Denver, Oklahoma City, Minnesota, the Clippers, the top 4 seeds, I'm not going to pick them against. So this is the difference, right? They can beat anybody one time. I do not think that they have the answers lineup-wise, depth-wise, balance-wise, IQ-wise, as a team collectively. I don't think that they have enough of those qualities to make it a series against any old team. They are going to be matchup dependent. They are going to be inconsistent. And they should be underdogs. And they should be looked at as a tier below those top 4 seeds. At this point, I think it would be pretty hard to argue otherwise. That'll wrap us up. Brandon Duenas on Monday, recapping Suns Pelicans. More content to come on that game. Pre-game keys, halftime takeaways, post-game takeaways, all on the Locked On Suns insider feed. If they make it competitive, I will have a quarter watchback for you video that will be sent directly to Locked On Suns insiders, where I go through the footage of an entire quarter that decided the game, and I break down why it decided the game. That is exclusive, sent directly to you if you are a Locked On Suns insider. Again, you can sign up there at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSuns or click the link in the show description below. Enjoy the game, hopefully, and I will catch you guys later on tonight.